Hi everyone. Okay, welcome to my continuing series of Directors' First Films. So these are first films which I have on physical media. Maybe you have some other directors' films which I don't have. So stay tuned and keep a lookout and let me know in the comments. So this series, it's on a playlist on my channel. You can follow along that way. We're up to mid-H now, so let's get going. First up, we have director Anthony Hickox, who sadly passed away in 2023. His first film was in 1988. I have it here on this set, but it's this one, Waxwork. And this one apparently came about after he crashed his vehicle into the producer who ended up funding the movie. So yeah, interesting start to his career. He's also directed Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, and Warlock, the Armageddon. And also, he is meant to be the great-grandson of J. Arthur Rank. I have at least one viewer who will have a fit if I don't mention our next director, and that is Alfred Hitchcock. But sadly, I do not have his very first feature film, which was in 1925, and it was The Pleasure Garden. Does anybody else have that one? So the next one I do have, which is in 1927, and it was The Lodger, A Story of the London Fog, which I have here on this rather poor quality DVD set of early Alfred Hitchcock movies. So everyone knows Alfred Hitchcock, but the question really is, which one is your favourite Alfred Hitchcock movie? So certainly for me, I love movies such as North by Northwest, Psycho and The Birds, perhaps a little bit more so than I do Vertigo. Next, we have director Gregory Hoblet, a director who started in TV, directing episodes for shows such as Hill Street Blues and NYPD Blue. But it was in 1996 that he had his feature film debut with this one, Primal Fear, starring Richard Gere, and a real breakout performance for Edward Norton. Such a classic performance from him in this film. Other interesting movies that Gregory Hoblet has gone on to direct include Fallen, starring Denzel Washington, Frequency, starring Jim Caviezel, and Heart's War with Bruce Willis. Next up, it's British director Mike Hodges, who sadly passed away in 2022. His first movie in 1971, for me, remains his best, and it is the classic performance from Michael Caine in Get Carter, also starring Britt Ekland. Great atmospheric movie, this one. He has also directed the hugely fun Flash Gordon in 1980, as well as a really good performance for Clive Owen in 1997's Croupier. But other rather erratic films that came in his career included Morons from Outer Space with Mel Smith and A Prayer for the Dying with Mickey Rourke. Next, from Australia, we have director P.J. Hogan, who in 1994 directed Toni Collette in her breakout role, and that was in Muriel's Wedding. Other films that P.J. Hogan has directed include the 2003 version of Peter Pan and My Best Friend's Wedding, starring Julia Roberts. Next, we have director Toby Hooper. Now, arguably, his first feature film came in 1971, and it was a film called Eggshells, but I don't think too many people have seen that one, so I am going to, if you like, cheat for this one and go to 1974, and really his breakout movie, which was the absolute classic, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But yeah, probably still the best film of his career, although he has gone on to direct other films such as Eaten Alive, Poltergeist, Life Force, and Invaders from Mars. Next, we've got British director Jonathan Hopkins, who so far throughout his career has only directed short films, but with one exception, and that came in 2017 when he directed Maggie Q in the horror movie Slumber, which has some good ideas in it, but I watched this the other day and I must admit it's rather unsuccessful. But yeah, anyway, that is his only movie to date. And next we have Dennis Hopper, absolutely legendary actor and quite a hellraiser on a number of film sets. But yeah, as a director, very interesting. His 1969 debut came with the absolute classic Easy Rider, in which he also starred alongside Jack Nicholson and Peter Fonda. And other really interesting movies in his career that he's directed include Out of the Blue, Colours, and The Hotspot. Next, we have actor Bob Hoskins, absolute beloved actor, known for such movies as The Long Good Friday, Mona Lisa, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Sadly, he passed away in 2014. As a director, he only really did one main feature film, which came in 1988, a really interesting film called The Raggedy Rawny, starring Dexter Fletcher, who went on to direct movies himself. And yeah, this one concerns a World War II deserter getting mixed up with a group of gypsies. A really interesting film. He did direct another film after this called The Rainbow, a kind of children's film, but that wasn't very successful. But yeah, this one is worth seeking out. It's quite an interesting film. Next, I've got British director John Hoff. Now, I can't hand on heart say that his films are great, yet I really enjoy seeking out his films. So he has done a whole mixture, doing films for Hammer Horror, he's done Disney Family Adventure, he's done Barbara Cartland adaptations as well. So yeah, quite a strange mixture. His very first film came in 1970. I really like this film, although, again, you can't really call it a great movie, but it is Eyewitness, also called Sudden Terror, which stars a young Mark Lester, and also Susan George and Peter Vaughan. So both Susan George and Peter Vaughan then went on to be in Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs. But yeah, really enjoy this thriller. But John Hoff, also for Hammer, he has directed Twins of Evil. He did a really good ghostly story called The Legend of Hell House, starring Roddy McDowall. For Disney, he's done such movies as Escape to Witch Mountain and Return from Witch Mountain. I think I've got that round the wrong way. And also Watcher in the Woods. And like I say, he's done Barbara Cartland adaptations as well, which include A Hazard of Hearts and The Lady and the Highwayman. Next, we have British actor Leslie Howard, who had been in such movies as Of Human Bondage, The Scarlet Pimpernel, and The Petrified Forest. In 1938, he managed to direct himself to an Academy Award nomination for acting, and that was playing Professor Henry Higgins in Pygmalion, opposite Wendy Hiller here. So this story famously remade with Audrey Hepburn as My Fair Lady. Leslie Howard did direct 4 other movies besides this one, but this will be his best remembered one. American director Ron Howard certainly seems to have been involved in film throughout his life. He started as a child actor back in the late 50s, and in the 70s he was famously Richie Cunningham on the series Happy Days. And it was during this period that he got his first opportunity to direct, and it was for a Roger Corman production, a fun little car chase movie called Grand Theft Auto. But certainly he has gone on to direct some big Hollywood movies, which have included the likes of Apollo 13, Backdraft, Cinderella Man, A Beautiful Mind, which is the only movie that he's won the Best Directing Oscar for, Rush, and he has a movie coming up soon called Eden. George Huang has mainly worked in TV, but in 1994 he did write and direct a movie that has been quite a significant one. It gave a really strong performance for Kevin Spacey as a foul-mouthed boss from hell, and that was this one, Swimming with Sharks, co-starring Frank Whaley. Next, it's British director Hugh Hudson. Now, he definitely got off to a great start in 1981 with the Oscar-winning movie Chariots of Fire, a real classic of British cinema. His next movie was the interesting Christopher Lambert starring Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, but then things really came unstuck when he then directed Revolution, starring Al Pacino, a very costly flop. Next, we have Albert and Alan Hughes, the Hughes brothers, a directing duo who got off to a really good start in 1993 with this ghetto drama, Menace to Society. Really good one. And they followed it up with a bigger budget and a really good movie, which was Dead Presidents in 1995. They've also directed From Hell, starring Johnny Depp, and The Book of Eli, starring Denzel Washington. I'm not sure if there's any other director more closely associated with the 1980s and comedy than director John Hughes. Now, his first film as a director was this one, 16 Candles, starring Molly Ringwald, and a fun performance for Anthony Michael Hall. Perhaps this film is a little bit outdated now, but certainly John Hughes has directed such classics as The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, my favourite, which is Planes, Trains and Automobiles, as well as Uncle Buck and Curly Sue. Director Peter Hunt started as an editor, and he worked as an editor on such war movies as Sink the Bismarck and Damn the Defiant. But he also started editing on the very first James Bond movie, Dr. No, and then continued with other Bond movies before turning to directing and getting the chance to helm the Bond movie that starred George Lazenby, and that was On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So that was his feature film debut as a director. He did get to work with another Bond, Roger Moore, but not in a Bond movie. He directed him twice in Gold and Shout at the Devil, co-starring Lee Marvin. And then he worked with Lee Marvin and Charles Bronson on the movie Death Hunt. Next up, we have an absolute legend of cinema, and it is director John Huston, who in 1941 had this instant classic, which was the noir thriller The Maltese Falcon, with a breakout role for Humphrey Bogart and a screen debut for Sidney Greenstreet. But yeah, John Huston went on to direct absolute classics, which have included Key Largo, The African Queen, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, which is the only film that he ever won the directing Oscar for, as well as classics as well that include Moby Dick, The Man Who Would Be King, and Fat City. Next, we have a director who I'm really fond of, and that is Peter Hyams. Now, he started in 1974 with a buddy cop thriller, which is Busting, starring Elliot Gould and Robert Blake. Really good fun one, this. In 1978, he directed a film which I'm really fond of, and it is Capricorn 1, again starring Elliot Gould. But he has also directed The Star Chamber, starring Michael Douglas, 2010, The Year We Make Contact, and he's also directed a couple of movies with Jean-Claude Van Damme, including Time Cop and Sudden Death, The Relic as well, which is a fun horror movie which I really enjoy, and also Outland, which is High Noon in Space, starring Sean Connery. Next, we've got British director Nicholas Heitner, a director who has worked a lot with Alan Bennett, the writer, as well as doing a lot of stage work and work with the National Theatre in London. In 1994, he had his film directing debut with a script by Alan Bennett and with an absolutely fantastic performance for Nigel Hawthorne, and that was in The Madness of King George. And he's also directed Daniel Day-Lewis in a really excellent adaptation of The Crucible, and also The History Boys. Okay, we're on to the eyes now, and I only actually have 2 eye directors, so let me know if you have any other ones. But yeah, first up we have Alejandro Inaritu, perhaps the most successful Mexican director working in cinema today. So he started in 2000 with this one, Amores Perros, a successful film about lives intertwining after a car crash. He also went on to direct Babel, 21 Grams, and then he's had Oscar-winning success for directing Birdman and then also The Revenant. British director John Irvin started in TV, and that included directing a classic performance for Alec Guinness as George Smiley in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. But it was following that series that he then directed his very first feature film, Cry Havoc and Let Loose, The Dogs of War, starring Christopher Walken and Tom Berenger. Other quite hard-hitting films that he has directed have included Arnie in Raw Deal and the Vietnam movie Hamburger Hill. But he's also directed Ghost Story, and in more later years he's softened up with movies such as Widow's Peak. Okay, next video will be on to the J's, but let me know, what are your thoughts on the movies that I've just talked about there, the directors I've talked about? Do you have any other directors in your collection where you have their first feature film? So yeah, I'd definitely be interested to know in the comments. I've had some great comments from some of you so far on this series. Thanks again for that. Please do continue to join me for the rest of this series. Thanks very much for watching. All the best to you. Bye-bye.